The following is a CSPN Media podcast presentation.
Don't treat me like a woman. Don't treat me like a man. Don't treat me like you know me. Treat me for just who and what I am. Don't treat me like who I am. Don't treat me like a man. Don't treat me like you know me. Just treat me for who and what I am. Don't treat me like a woman. Don't treat me like a man.
All right. Hi, Forever Young Cast. It is Madam Lizette. We're coming to you today with a special episode to kind of discuss the women's revolution and where we are. And I want to bring in my two favorite co-hosts, JJ. How are you doing?
Well, and you?
I'm doing good. It's a pretty day outside. And V?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. So we're doing this episode because I think Diane has gotten tired of us having these really long form discussions and text messages. Mm-hmm. So we decided to kind of just talk about what's going on with the women's division as of right now, tag team belt, Sasha, Naomi, just the whole gamut, and then just kind of talk about where we think it's going to go. So I guess the place that I want to start with is the fact that we got a 3-way women's main event at WrestleMania where Becky the Man became Becky 2 belts. Mm-hmm. How do you guys feel about that? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you like the match? Do you think Becky's going to keep the titles long term? You know, just kind of what your thoughts are about everything that happened at WrestleMania surrounding that match and those ladies, even more so like the lead up to it as well. Mm-hmm. And then we'll go from there. JJ, you can go first.
Me? Okay. So you tagged me in.
Of course.
I will say that I wasn't really watching WWE that much since the Mae Young Classic. I was checking in, but one of the storylines that did catch and keep my attention was the rise of Becky Lynch, starting with her heel turn. When the women's revolution started and they called up Sasha and they called up Becky and they called up Charlotte, it didn't seem complete without Bayley, but I wanted to see where these 3 women would go because I had heard about them, but I didn't really watch them in NXT. So they were new to me. And then all of a sudden, Sasha became the boss to me, and Charlotte Flair is Charlotte Flair. And then Becky was flat. And then Bayley came and like, okay, she's a hugger. It's kind of weird, but whatever. But then Bayley was flat. And then all of a sudden, Becky becomes this, the first recruit for SmackDown. And I thought, okay, maybe I can learn a little bit more about her. But I had heard that she was really funny on Twitter and that, you know, and when I would see her on television, I enjoyed her, but I didn't see her a lot. And then all of a sudden she said, you know what, I'm tired of this. And then we saw the heel turn and then really carry herself like a star and rock that gimmick and say, I'm going to walk it as I talk it. And that, to me, that authenticity, as much as it can be, I was drawn to say, I'm going to operate outside of the expected. And then it got to be a little from organic to managed. And it was a little, I don't want to say the air fell out a little bit for me, but it was still very much interesting. I did feel as though she belonged in the title picture at WrestleMania based on her rise and the sustainability. I believe that she was Sports Illustrated's #1 wrestler last year. And I probably will circle back on and as to how that list was made up. But she may not be the best wrestler, but she's a total package as far as being able to perform in the ring, get her gimmick over to everybody outside of wrestling. I mean, people knew who it was. Even my mom, when she saw the T-shirt and said the man, and it said the man, she was like, is this something else? And when I explained it, she's like, okay, I got it. That's good. So to wrap it up, because I don't want to talk too long about it. I liked the match. I didn't like the ending. It was it fell flat for me, especially since I was comparing it to the Hell in a Cell with Charlotte and Sasha. The excitement wasn't as sustainable for me in that match. So I was a little disappointed in that. I won't compare it to for me, the match of the night, which I don't think anything could match Kofi Mania. But I wanted what we saw between those three women to stand on its own and to be a moment. And to me, it wasn't.
All right. I totally get that. So kind of to piggyback on what you said about the manufacturing thing, I think about week 2 or 3 before WrestleMania, I was just like, okay, I'm kind of getting tired of this story. Because it just felt like they were trying to oversell the fact that Becky's going to be in the match. And it's like, well, we know Becky, we knew you weren't going to let her not be in the match because it's her match. First of all, she basically created this match herself. Mm-hmm. And then second of all, the finish at Payback and Ronda getting involved, and then Ronda's whole, I'm going to call wrestling fake, and that whole situation. And then them all getting arrested. The best part of them all getting arrested was the fact that Charlotte kicked Ronda in the face.
She duck walked and kicked her.
Yo, and that was amazing. Outside of that, it was just whew, I'm so tired of you white women. So, by the time we got to the main event, I was just like, can Bayley just win? Because I'm over this. I get that. And the finish was crappy. And we can talk about the finish after V gives her, feelings about everything. So, V, go ahead.
Yeah, so, I liked Becky from the get-go. I didn't know how much she could do with that whole, what do you even call it? With the goggles and all that. I don't even know what that thing was.
Yes.
Yeah, the steampunk thing. I didn't know how long she could go along with that. I think the best thing for her was being able to show her personality on social media, which is very funny because you had certain male wrestlers like Ty Dillinger calling out female wrestlers with a lot of melanin in their skin and telling them to not get on Twitter and to use Twitter to get themselves over. But he had nothing to say to Becky, who did it and used it successfully and actually became really, really popular off of social media, more so than what she was doing in the ring. But that's besides the point. But
can we make a point about that? Because what did Becky just do, and where's Ty Dillinger now?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
I mean, if we're gonna be honest, Ty Dillinger's girlfriend has a title and he never had one, but
never
whatever.
Had one. Yeah.
Right there.
Shout out to Peyton Royce.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about them in a little bit, but yeah. So I'm excited. I was excited what you did. The match to me. So I'll leave the lead up to everything. It started out really organic and it was great because it was led by the women. They did it. Becky did it. And then as soon as Vince realized, oh shit, this is good stuff, let me Vince it up and start adding all this extra stuff and adding Charlotte and making it a 3-way match and all that kind of stuff. It just got to be too much. By the time they had gotten arrested, I was just like, okay, is this how much are we going to do for this just to make this match happen? We all know it's going to be a 3-way match at Mania. We don't need all this extraness. It's the exact same thing that he did with Kofi. He Vinced it up, adding all these extra hoops that Kofi had to jump through. And we know he's going to get the Mania match. We don't, at this point, it's just, you're overdoing it. But so once they finally got to the match, I wasn't really excited about them doing it for both belts. Because the women already don't have enough belts to fight for anyway. And so now you have one person with both belts, which is fine for the time being. But how long are they going to drag that out? And I also want to know, can Becky sustain this run that she has now that she no longer has Ronda to go against? We all hated Ronda. Everybody hated Ronda. But that same feeling doesn't really happen for the other women that are wrestling right now. We don't all have a general consensus to hate the same person right now.
Well,
so
I'd like to nominate Alexa Bliss as tribute.
But I don't think that's everybody. I think that's Black women, and I think that's a small segment because there's a lot of Black dudes who go up for her, and there's a lot of white dudes who go up for her. Yeah, and white women who go up for Alexa. So I don't think that's like a general consensus that we all hate her. So I just want to know, and I also don't want her to be in the title picture with Becky right now anyway, because she's not a great wrestler. And I don't think I would like she wasn't able to carry her moment of bliss segments because they were completely pointless and terrible. So I don't really want to see her in a thing with Becky right now. So I just wonder how long Becky's going to be able to sustain all this without having an epic foil like Ronda. Even though I cannot stand Ronda, she was a good foil because we all hated her and we wanted Becky to win. So I just want to see where she's going to go now.
If can I say something?
Go ahead.
Embedded in that statement about where does Becky go next and what would her or who would her next foil be is the issue with Sasha Banks right now, because that's exactly what she's saying. Or even a little further, Naomi, where she said, hey, you guys took this belt away from us to combine it in this pay-per-view match, the WrestleMania match, where you have all of these talented women who could compete for it and elevate it. So while Becky is doing one thing, even if, they took the match out of the picture, the belt out of the picture for a little bit in terms of Becky is, well, I know Asuka. No, it was going to Asuka, but it's kind of like saying we have these 4 women competing. The one that was advertised, and then all of a sudden they had Charlotte come in and win it. It's like, where could Becky go after winning this belt as SmackDown champion? Who could she face? All of these women are great, and instead they are beyond afterthoughts.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, because I could have nominated Nia, but Nia's injured. I really don't know who is available. Who do you think, H?
So on SmackDown, I guess the only person on SmackDown that I kind of want to see Becky kind of have a drag out match with is Asuka. Because
she's in a tag team now, so I don't know if that's going to happen.
Right. But so this will kind of tie into this when we get to the tag team in a second. So watching SmackDown and Superstar Shakeup and Asuka coming out with Kyrie, if you look at every single one of those women in that ring, Asuka beat every single last one of them.
Yep.
She beat every single last one of them in NXT. And now you're telling her that she has to tag to like even get a chance to be in the same like room with them. And that bothers me because in her 500 days, she beat Ember several times. She, she beat Peyton. I think Billie Kay might have been in one of those triple threat matches or 4 women matches. But she beat her. She beat Nikki Cross, and Nikki Cross wasn't even in the ring. She's beaten Sonya. She's beaten Mandy. She's beaten Bayley. She's beaten everyone. The only ones that Asuka has not beaten, if we're thinking about it technically, would be Sasha and Charlotte in a form. And then Becky, I would kind of want to see her refeud it out with Becky because she's the only one who can say, I beat you. And she did beat Becky. And we can get into like what is wrong with Asuka and this whole tag team thing later on as we record. But that's who I think would be a good option. If it wasn't going to be Asuka, then I want Naomi to be back in the title picture because she lost her title on a technicality. Like it was really on some, you can't wrestle for 30 days, so you can't keep your title. Even though like they've had several women and several men who couldn't wrestle for 30 days and got to keep their titles. So I felt like that was just trifling as fuck. So that's my next option. And then on Raw.
She's on Raw now. Naomi's on Raw now.
Right. So on the Raw side of things, I guess that would be Naomi if she was still on SmackDown, but now she's on Raw. And then on the Raw side of things, if she had to fight somebody, I hate to be the one to say this, but I kind of want Dana Brooke to get a chance. Like, the girl wants to wrestle. Like, and I'm kind of tired of watching all the rest of you guys. I guess, you know what? Since Naomi is on Raw, my next option is Mickie James. Because I feel like Mickie James, deserves to tie Trish. That's where I'm at. Mickey's still in the business and she can still wrestle. She can still go and she's still putting all of these women over. Part of the reason why we people like her or like Alexa or in the same form dislike Alexa is because Mickie James has been like her sidekick for a lot of this. Yeah. And Mickie has helped her, kind of grow as a character and grow as a heel. So I think Mickie deserves that title shot. And so then she can just kind of go out on top and retire if that's what she wants to do. She doesn't have to. But those are probably my two candidates, Naomi and Mickie. And then Dana, if, they just have to be blonde and white, then Dana would be my next option. Because I think Dana, she's improved. They just won't give her a chance. And I don't understand why. She's useless being on Raw or being on the main roster in general. Y'all might as well just send her back to NXT if that's the case.
Yeah. Or send her to the UK brand.
Yeah. What I don't like is what I feel like what's about to happen is because the only person to confront Becky straight up so far has been Lacey Evans.
And I'm so sick of her.
Vince is all about that idiot, and I feel like he's gonna push her to the moon. And I don't. It's gonna be so bad because she's terrible. She's just really bad.
So it's gonna be. I need to go back and rewatch the Royal Rumble because they said part of the reason why they kind of soured on the full-fledged push for her initially and started just having her do the walk to the ring and go back or whatever is because the starting match at the Royal Rumble or starting, her and who was it? Natty, I think, who started the Rumble. The match was so bad, Vince kind of soured on her. And I was just well, I don't remember it being that awful. So I need to go back and rewatch that because now I have questions. Because I'm just I don't think it was that bad, but maybe it was. And with Natty being in the ring, and I think Charlotte was the next person, they kind of covered for her a lot.
You know what?
So you didn't notice it, or I didn't notice it. So that's something I need to do for myself.
I don't remember her actual moves in the ring. I do remember her on the mic and me thinking, why, Lord?
She's very cringy. And I know that she's supposed to be I hate to say the racist housewife, but that's kind of what she is.
That is. She is. That's exactly what it is. When you said Vince, they were going to push her, and I thought to myself, what'd she do? Fix Vince a plate? I mean, it's
every time she tweets something, I'm just don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. The character, I get it that she's fully invested in her character, but girl, we are in the 20th century. We are in the 21st century. That's just not gonna work. It's just not gonna work at all. But anyway.
Well, I have a question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just looked it up. It was Lacey Evans and Natty who started it, and then Mandy Rose came in. So it was actually a lot of. So it was Lacey, Natalia, Mandy Rose, then Liv Morgan, then Mickie James, and Ember Moon. So I could see why that first couple of minutes.
Oh yeah, that was awful.
Bad. I could see why that wasn't.
There's only 3 good wrestlers out of the first. Oh yeah, that was probably so trash. Wow. Okay,
we didn't even remember. We were right.
I said that it was Charlotte, not Mandy. So here we go.
Charlotte didn't come out till 13, so it was. There was a lot of people who weren't great, like Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, who great on the mic, but they can't wrestle. And
Peyton's getting better, but Billie, she just don't do it for
me. Billie doesn't care.
But yeah, so yeah. I can't wait to find out how you really feel. Okay. So JJ, what were you gonna ask?
In terms of Becky and also the star power, Wrestle Talk reported that Becky Lynch is the favorite to be installed as the cover star of WWE 2K20.
I'm with it.
That's cool. It's usually a curse, but that's cool.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a curse for AJ or Seth, was it?
Well,
didn't Seth get hurt?
Go ahead.
I feel like Seth, he hurt his knee after he was on the cover, or he got hurt again or something. Maybe I'm getting the dates mixed up.
I have to check the dates, but I think Seth got on the cover after his injury. Okay. And then after him, it was AJ. And then they had the Ronda cover.
Which can I say how? Okay, this is we're gonna diverge a little bit, but okay, New Day Xavier Woods has a whole entire freaking game channel.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they not on the cover of the W? Like, he promotes their gaming, all of their games so much better than any other wrestler on the roster. Why are they not on the covers of the WWE 2K? Like, there's no reason why they shouldn't be. Like, it's built-in promotion. If like a smart marketing person would be like, this person has a channel with 1.7 million people watching him play video games. Why would we not put him on the cover, or all three of them on the cover of our game? Like, that to me is just insane that it hasn't happened yet. It should have happened before AJ. And I get why it was AJ and I get why it was Seth, because they're the bigger names, but you can't tell me that New Day isn't one of the premier names in the WWE right now, because they get used for everything.
Literally. And they're the only people who have new shirts.
Yeah. Yeah, like two of them. Like, they have a new shirt like almost every, like, they get two shirts like a week or something. So they always get it. So I don't understand why they wouldn't do that. But anyway, I was diverging a little bit.
Not really, because I think that while we're still talking about the main event, I think that this is really the crux as to where we're leading up to about the state of women's wrestling. In that, would we feel differently about it? I mean, yeah, we're like, okay, Becky, yeah, but over Kofi Mania and Kofi in the New Day. And it's like, if we just looked at two, like WrestleMania 35, two very monumental matches, moments, and the opportunity where it's literally saying, I think that Kofi Mania is unmatched. There will never be another moment quite like this within a foreseeable decade. But, what like, the women did not match up. Like, to compare the two is hard. Go ahead.
I feel like, okay, the women's match, I will say, was not that great. It was an okay match. I can honestly say, like, I don't remember too many major moments from it. I remember a lot of what happened in the Kofi and Daniel Bryan match. I remember everything leading up to it. Like, even, them walking out to the ring and everything, and them getting, and the present they were going to show them, and also, like, there was just more moments with that. But I feel like with the women's match, I don't think it was ever going to have the same feeling as the Kofi situation, for the simple fact that it took 8 hours to get to it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like by the time we got to that match, everybody was just tired. So it was just kind of like, we know Becky's going to win. Let's just get to it. And so it didn't really provide it. I don't think Vince set them up to have the moment that they should have had, because we had to wait 8 hours to get to it.
Right.
And then by the time the match came, we were all just fatigued with wrestling, and they didn't really, and like I said, there wasn't really too many memorable spots in the match. Like, I can't pinpoint anything that happened where I was like, oh my God, that was an awesome move, or that counter was really great, or anything. But I could probably do that with the Kofi and Daniel Bryan match.
Well, I can even do that even with the 4-way match in NXT with so with Bianca and Io, Kyrie, and Shayna Baszler. So I think that's like, well, in terms of booking, what's the difference between, is it the talent, or is there somebody not working with them? Does somebody have a mental fatigue, something that's saying like, well, the women can't do this, and therefore, because that ending, good Lord, I know that there's some controversy around it where maybe the ending should have been something else, or the ref counted, but it's like, what is it going to take for women's wrestling to really shine in terms of building a story, like getting, having the stars align and really pushing them to the moon, where everything is thought of, where we don't have this thing where it was like, yeah, they had it.
I think we can save that question for the end of our conversation. Okay. That'll be like our big, so think about this, and that'll be like our big finisher. Right. But I do want to kind of talk about the finish of the match, and then we'll move on to like some other things. So for all intents and purposes, that's not how the match is supposed to end. period. Like, it's not like Vince called an audible and was like, end it now. It was really just like, Ronda didn't kick out and that was her fault. Which, scratch that. She kicked out. The ref didn't catch it. And it was basically a technicality. The ref has to keep counting. And from his point of view, he could not see the fact that she, had her knee down. She had everything down or whatever. So, or wasn't pinned down or whatever. So in thinking about that, how would you have liked to see the match end? What did you expect to happen? And what do you think would have made the match more memorable if it would have happened that way? And I'm going to let V do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I expected it to end with Becky putting Ronda in the submission move that she said wasn't real and didn't really do anything and didn't really hurt anybody. That would have been the smart thing to do. Like, oh, this is not a real move. This is not a real thing. Okay, then. Well, I'm going to show you and I'm going to beat. And the best situation, but I wasn't expecting it to be I just wasn't expecting it to be that way. Or I also didn't think. So I don't know if I thought Ronda was going to be the one that got pinned. I thought it was going to be something where Charlotte was the one that got pinned, and then they could drag the story on a little bit longer because then Ronda could be like, well, I wasn't the one that got pinned, so I want to fight you again. You didn't beat me. You beat Charlotte, that kind of thing. So that's what I thought was going to happen, and they were going to drag the story out a little bit longer. I do wonder if something was called because they knew Ronda's hand was messed up or something, because her hand is broken and she had to have surgery. So I do wonder if there was something to that with the match being called the way that it was. But I really did think it was going to end with Becky putting her in the disarmor, but didn't end that way.
All right, JJ, you?
Same. I thought the story of the match was going to be Becky was going to work those arms so that she could get her into the Bexploder and then the arm bar, the disarmor. And then I thought that Ronda was going to work her lower half so that she could get her into the figure eight. Either way, one of them were going to take Ronda out with a wrestling move that she said was so fake. That's what I thought the story was going to be. So when it was a quick, indecisive, blinking you missed it finish, it was just dissatisfying. Yeah. But that's what I thought. I really thought that they were going to put over professional wrestling.
And I'm in the same boat as you guys. And I think a lot of like the Forever Cast and the WrestleCast and Mania Cast, I think all of us in our hashtags and everything that Don has is gone. Like, I think everyone thought that Ronda was going to be put in the disarmor, tap, and Becky wins. And that's not what happened. And I understand what you're saying, V, with her hand being broken and it possibly being an audible. But like, the look on all of their faces made me think like, oh, this is not how this is supposed to go. Everyone just looked like, oh shit, we fucked up. Like the ref, Michael Cole and them, everyone, they all just looked like this is not how that was supposed to work. And like you said, JJ, it was super dissatisfying. Like, it's bad enough that we had already kind of gotten worn out with the story in general. And then they kind of I realized a lot of wrestling fans enjoyed the whole them getting arrested thing. I realized that it was a tale of two worlds. So whether or not you were a person of color or a black woman, black man, or if you were a white male or a white woman, because we all looked at that in totally different ideas, in totally different ways. So they had gotten a lot of people back into it. And yes, we were burned out by the time we got to this match. It was really just like, y'all just run this 5 minutes out. Because, WrestleMania itself, if I remember correctly, it ran over like 20 or 30 minutes. So a lot of those other guys on the card had, pushed the limits on it in general. So I get if they did call an audible because they knew they had run over, but I just don't find that finish to be satisfying. And if that's how Ronda's going to come back in a year and basically be like, you didn't actually pin me, like, nobody care, girl. Like, WWE doesn't even show the finish. If you see like the recap on Raw and SmackDown, or like even when they kind of do flashes of it from on NXT, they don't show the finish. They act like that finish didn't even happen. So it doesn't, like, I'm pretty sure if we try to go back and watch the WrestleMania, they're going to cut to a black screen. Because WWE is just like, nope, didn't happen. I don't know what y'all talking about. Becky just got the both belts. And I guess that's okay, but that just feels like they just put a big damper on like the women's match. And I guess that's kind of the same way that I felt about like the Brock beating Roman down. What was it, last year?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, okay, well, he lost, but does he have to like get abused?
Get abused like that? Yeah.
Yeah. Or, even when, what was it? Was it when Rock beat Randy Orton down or beat somebody else down and they were bleeding and we were just like, well, was that necessary? Like, it's not. It's not even. You don't have to do that. I understand that you want us as fans to invest in these characters and these stories, but all you end up doing is just making us go, yeah, this is cringy and I don't like this. And it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Because even going into Raw and SmackDown, like, we're usually so geeked for the Raw or SmackDown after WrestleMania, and you're looking into it. I wasn't at all.
I didn't even watch it.
I wasn't.
Like, I was geeked to see Kofi.
I watched. Well, I wasn't expecting to see Kofi. I was waiting for him to be on SmackDown, but I didn't go into that thinking, oh, there's going to be a lot of call-ups and it's going to be super exciting and stuff. But like, I mean, I tuned into it and I watched it and I was like, cool. I didn't like what they did with Kofi and Seth by putting them against each other for the belts and all that crap. But yeah, it just didn't have the same feel because I felt I was fatigued with wrestling. There had been too much wrestling in that weekend, and then by the time it came, I was just like, oh my God. But on a side note, now that Ronda is gone for a long time, I would actually be totally okay if she did not come back. I feel like she had her year. Seriously, I feel like she had her year. She got to feel what it was like to be, Roddy Piper, and she got to travel the world and do the wrestling thing. But I don't think she's like, where can she go in like now? Like who like just like we were saying with Becky, who is on her level for her to fight? Like, I really don't want to see her go back and forth with Becky again. I don't want to see her go back and forth with Charlotte again. Like, I've been there, done that. It's enough. Move on. You can go back to raising the cows on your farm and stay away.
Can I just ask one more thing? What did you guys think about the entrances for the ladies?
Becky got screwed. Like, I get that she was like, yeah, I'm just going to walk out there. I mean business and stuff. But, I mean, like, they couldn't do more than that. But I think in general, WrestleMania was like the lowest budget WrestleMania we've had in a really long time. The stage was boring. Like, it was shorter than it normally is. Like, it wasn't as grand as it has been in the past. So I think a lot of people's entrances in general were just not... Like, I didn't understand why Charlotte had to arrive in a helicopter and then we see her get out and then it goes to another screen. Like we know it was filmed ahead of time. So it was just dumb.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I agree about the Charlotte thing. I think the part that I was like, God, y'all are awful at editing was when she gets out the plane and they're putting the robe on her. And then you look back and the robe's buttoned. And I'm like, well, she didn't fucking button the damn robe. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I was like, what? Are y'all bad at? Y'all are so bad at this. Like, all she had to do was just button it herself. I don't understand. Like, she could have done that on screen. And then I didn't understand why she needed the red carpet. And then it took forever. Yeah. And then they did her, like, that first part of her entrance. But then they had Ronda come out. And then she did the rest of her entrance. And I was like, well, all of this, none of this makes any sense. And then Becky comes out. And I'm just like, Becky, will you just win? Like, it really, really where it was.
I mean, at that point, I was just like, okay. I'm like, these entrances were really stupid. Like, it was cool that Ronda had
Joan Jett.
Yeah, that was cool, awesome. But by the time it happened, I was just like, I'm tired. Let's just go. But I just felt like if you're gonna have Charlotte arrive in a helicopter, have a choppy edited entrance, and then have Becky have Ronda have Joan Jett, and then Becky walks out. Like, y'all couldn't get some like Irish jiggers or something, like
listen.
and dance like something like this. She's like the first woman to ever, she's one of the first women to ever to headline a WrestleMania, and you had her walk out like she was on SmackDown. Like there was nothing special about it.
It wasn't good.
I wanted, you know what I thought she was gonna do. I mean, she didn't have a lot of smoke, did she? But I thought she was gonna play up on the when a man comes around type of a deal.
Yeah.
So I would have been fine if she had nothing but a spotlight, like, oh, the man is coming, with like shadows or something than what she had. And I understood that it was supposed to with for me, the Joan Jett entrance was almost like this is how UFC does grandeur, is to have a live band kind of play you out. And I'm like, okay.
But did you see how stupid she looked though? Like Ronda walks out and like grins at Joan Jett with like this cheesy grin.
Yeah.
And turns toward the ring and automatically she goes back to Sad Panda and she's got like this angry face on. And she just looks so stupid. But you know what? Like if anybody should have had the helicopter, it should have been Becky. It should have been the one who is the man is arriving. Like, she should have been the one to arrive that way. But and I also like. I thought her gear. I thought she was going to be like. She's done better gear for the battle royales than she did for her Mania.
Well, okay. So,
you're talking about Becky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I would say all of them. Like even Ronda. Like I was just like, y'all are headlining Mania, and you look like it's just SmackDown or Raw.
Right.
Like it doesn't look like anything special.
So I think. And this is because best friend told me this, but I think that Becky's is supposed to be Uma Thurman's character in Kill Bill. Like that's where her gear is supposed to be.
But like I get that, but isn't Uma's character, wasn't it a reverse of it was all yellow with black down the arm?
Yeah, but I think also like because she's dating, Seth.
Yeah,
she's twisting it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's cool.
But that was supposed to be a Bruce Lee reference though, so it's kind of like a reference on reference. It's getting meta and it got lost in translation.
Yeah. And I think that's why her gear has been what it's been lately, is that's kind of what she's going for, but she's also trying to like rock Seth's colors. But then we could just be reading way too much into this, and Becky could just decide that this is what she wants to do. So okay.
Yeah, we can move on.
Right, because we
can talk about it all day.
So not nice. Yeah. So going to the second, like I guess to Friday, and talking about the women that we got to see in NXT, and then even going up into the Superstar Shakeup and the women who got called up, and the women who were also switched rosters. To answer your question, V, what my like dream booking for Ronda is for Shayna Baszler to come up and basically tell Ronda, you ain't shit, I'm better than you, and whoop her ass, and that be the end of it. Like beat her down,
so
because
down with that.
Shayna is.
I like her now.
Yeah, I do too. Shayna, and if you listen to Forever Young Cast, like 2 years ago, y'all knew I could not stand Shayna. Like, me and Sam got into it on a WrestleCast episode because I was just like, oh my God, I can't stand her. But no, Shayna's my favorite, like, heel. She's my favorite champion right now next to, like, Samoa Joe. Like, she is amazing. And as far as the 4 horsewomen go, she's the best 4 horsewomen of MMA. And she paid her dues. And I think that's kind of what it was too.
That's what it was. Yeah. She didn't come in expecting to be the man right away. Like she paid her dues and now she's killing it and she's believable. Like
most definitely.
I don't believe anything that comes out of Ronda's mouth. I don't she's not that great in the ring. Like people talk about how she's so good. And I was like, she's not. Like she needs to put in some work.
She's improved. And even her mic skills have improved. Like I will give her grades for improvement, and I will also give her like grades for like effort, because in watching some of her interviews and things like that, I realized how much she does love wrestling. Like she is a fan before she is a wrestler. But if you are going to be like our champion and our headlining woman, and that's what Vince and everyone has kind of propped you up to be, you have to perform better than what you have. And I think that Shayna has stepped up to that plate very well, but like Jessica May and Marina Shafir and Rhonda, I don't feel like the three of them are carrying their weight, and they're going to end up dragging Shayna down. And I hope that what that turns into is Shayna just being like, I don't need y'all. Like, I'm better than all of y'all. I don't need y'all. Because, I mean, before they got here, she was dominating the women's division of NXT anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that now that they're here, like, yeah, it's cool to watch them kind of help her with EO and Binky and Kyrie when she was there, but she didn't need them to like beat any of them. She was beating all of them girls anyway. Yeah. Until, call up or whatever. So going into the Superstar Shakeup and the call-ups, and of course, we now have the women's tag belts that are now on the Iconics. Billie Kay and Don's other favorite, Peyton Royce. What do you think about what the women's rosters look like now on Raw and SmackDown? What do you think do you think we're going to get any more call-ups from NXT? Since it feels like they're not going to put a title on Binky. And if that's the case, then she doesn't need to stay there. Like, that's just kind of how I feel. Like, if they're not going to give her a title, then she just needs to leave. And do you think that the Iconics should have won?
No.
Or are you on Team Sasha?
And Sasha.
JJ, you can start this off because we know how you feel now. What do you think?
For the both of us. This is almost a case of 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. On one hand, I do feel as though the Iconics are a tag team. And if you're going to have tag team belts, then it should go on a tag team. But I think that the role of Sasha and Bayley was to make the tag team titles valuable so that if you weren't a tag team where you were trying to develop, kind of like how Cesaro and Sheamus all of a sudden developed into a very good tag team, that there is something to fight for, a value, not like, well, girl, I ain't got nothing to do. You ain't got nothing to do. Well, let's do this. So while I don't think that putting it on the Iconics was a bad move, I do think that putting it on them now was too soon because they're like, who are they again? I know who they are, and I know that they have a little chest out move, but I'm going to be really, really honest and say I watched them during our first the Women's Evolution pay-per-view. Ooh boy, not good. I have tried to watch their matches, and the only time I watch them fully is on a pay-per-view where I can't fast forward or something. And a lot of it has to do with their screaming and squawking, where it's just, it pulls me out of it. That's a personal pet peeve of mine. I don't like it when women are in a match and they're like, throughout the whole match where it's ridiculous. I don't mind them talking because that goes to their ditzy comedic act where they're like, oh, pin her down. I don't have a problem with that, but just the screaming, I don't like it. So it's hard for me to really listen to their matches, but I've seen it in, things happen where they could tighten it up a little bit. I am Team Sasha and Bayley on this one. If you're going to give the belt prestige, if you're going to establish it and give it star power and make it something that women want to fight for and are proud to rock, then it needed a bit more time, because I don't think it should have changed hands until Sasha and Bayley did what they said they were going to do, which was to defend the belt across the promotions.
Yeah, agree.
So to me, that match didn't have to happen at WrestleMania. That tag team match, they could have gone at NXT TakeOver and taken on an NXT, team there. They could have taken on the Sky Pirates there.
Yep.
Or anybody else.
So my thing that I didn't understand, and this is no offense like Natty and Becky or Natty and Beth, but why are y'all here?
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
if the whole point of this is to eventually give us like a Beth and Tamina feud, then like the four of y'all could have done this somewhere separate. Y'all didn't have to be in this match.
They needed Natty to be on television so that Bret Hart could be there. That's the only reason that happened.
Right. And I feel like the whole point of it was because Edge was coming and Bret was coming and like Bret was getting to the Hall of Fame and Natty was standing in for her father. And so of course you have to be in this match. And I'm just like, but I feel like you took an opportunity out of the hands of like another Raw tag team, like the Riot Squad, because Sarah and Liv work very well together. And you could have also included an NXT tag team, which would have been the Sky Pirates, because they're like the only tag type team in NXT. And then you would have exposed your main roster and like your big boisterous crowd to like some new talent and some up and comers that I feel like they should pay attention to that you don't use anyway. So all they end up doing, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So I understand why they didn't do Sky Pirates, because they were busting them up anyway, just so that they can move up Kyrie to be with Asuka. But I have a question about the Divas of Doom. They have a name, and
they didn't use it.
And no, they didn't. And so what I was wondering is if were they a thing like against Lay Cool during a time where I may not have been watching?
I think when I've gone back and like watched all old Raw and SmackDown and stuff like that, like Beth and Natty eventually become like this tandem, because I mean they are best friends outside of like the ring, and so they eventually do kind of do this tandem. But I mean, most people tend to remember Beth for her like work with what was his name?
Her husband and
no.
cousin.
Santino.
Oh, yeah.
They remember that because Santino got her over. So they tend to remember that. They tend to associate her with him and not so much with Natty. And I really feel like it really was just one of those like, oh, well, you're going to have Edge come and you're going to have Brett come. So we might as well put you two in the match.
No, so they actually did. They had a feud with Lay Cole back in like 2010. And then they kind of like, and then like 2011, they turned heel. And they were supposed to be like the anti-divas because they weren't they weren't like skinny, perky, and Barbie doll type women. They were bigger than all the other girls, and they could actually really go. So, so they actually were a legit tag team with each other, and they were feuding with Lay Cool, and they had a slogan called "Pin Up Strong." So that was like and that was also the name of their submission. So they actually were a legit tag team.
And so I thought them being in the match was kind of like saying, hey, we didn't have this belt or opportunity for you all when you were doing it. So and since you still can go, come on in. Now now I would have just said that instead of having Beth like push somebody outside the ring. I was like, what's going on?
Exactly.
So I would have just said that, just say, you know what? I can still go. It would mean the world of me to compete and just, and you know what? Everybody else would have been like, yeah, man, I want to, and Bailey and Sasha would have gone out to like, you know what? We are the best. And in order for us to be the best, we got to beat the best.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and instead it turned into like this catty, I'm going to do this and you're going to have to deal with it. And it was just like, we associate women with being catty. Why?
Yeah, so what would have been smart for, in my opinion, is since, Bailey and Sasha had said they wanted to go through all the different divisions, because if you look at the women who were in the match, there was one SmackDown team and 3 Raw teams. That doesn't seem right to me. So you should have had Bailey and Sasha, the Boston Hug connection. You should have had a team from NXT. You should have had a team from SmackDown. And then you could have, if you wanted to, you could bring an alumni team in, or for that 4th team, or bring in someone from NXT UK. Like, then you would have been exposing all kinds of people, and then it would have made it legit. But like, I can see why Sasha and Bailey, if they were upset behind the scenes, they rightfully should have been, because they they worked, like, they're one of the reasons why we actually have these belts.
Exactly.
Like, let's be 100% honest. Like, if it wasn't for them being able to go and them being able to, hold and put the company on their shoulders, like, we wouldn't have these tag team belts. So them holding it did bring some kind of prestige, and they didn't hold it for that long. And people want to say that Sasha has no right to be upset about anything, but every time that Vince has given her a belt on the main roster, he's given it to her to help push somebody else's career.
Yep.
Because if she has the belt, every time she had the belt, she was facing Charlotte. And every time she would lose, she lost to Charlotte on a pay-per-view or something. So she was helping to push Charlotte's career. And then now you give her the tag team title belts first, and you have her lose on a pay-per-view again, and she barely even held the belt for that long. Like, she has every reason to be mad, because he gave her the belts, and her and Bayley the belts, to hold them for a month, because they do hold some prestige when they're around those two girls' waist. And now he gives them to the Iconics to help push them over Bayley and Sasha. And it shouldn't have been that way. Like, maybe down the line it should have happened, but that, like, they shouldn't have lost those belts at Mania. They should have lost them a little bit longer down the line. They should have had time to face all the different divisions, and they should have had time to be able to actually make those belts prestigious, and he didn't give them a chance to do that. And I don't understand the Iconics. I don't find them funny. I think that there's a lot of people who think they're hilarious, and I don't get it. And it's because I can't deal with screeching. Like, even when they talk on the mic, it's legit screeching, and I can't deal with that. So I mute them. I just, like, and the only time I can tolerate them is when I see the GIFs on Twitter, and, like, I can tolerate them in small bits, but I can't do them on television. I don't care to watch any of their matches. I can't think of any match that they've had where I was like, oh, wow, they're really good, and that was a great match. They have 0 memorable matches. Maybe they'll get there, but I just don't think they should get there right now. And this whole thought process that we need to give the belts to a real tag team. They're only a real tag team because they couldn't get over separately. That's the only reason they got put together. And for people to have that mentality too, like, no one had a thing to say when Cesaro and Sheamus got put together and they became tag champs. Nobody was like, oh, they're not a real tag team, they shouldn't be the ones holding the belt. Like, I don't think that matters, especially considering it's a new belt in a division that's never been around. Of course, you're going to have to create tag teams to actually have a tag division. So this whole idea that they deserve to hold it because they're a real tag team, they're just a real tag team because nobody cared about them separately. That's the only reason. So I don't get them. They're my Tony Storm of the tag division. I don't get them.
Wow.
At all.
Wow. Shots fired.
Right. So, okay, I agree with both of you ladies, and, like, 100%, I am Team Sasha. I do not like the fact that, like, I hate that we talk about how Sasha and, what's that girl's name? Alexa and Charlotte are 5, 6, 7 time women's champions, but, like, their reigns are really, like, 30 to 60 days.
Yeah.
That like, to watch a Trish or a Lita or, you know, a Michelle McCool or a Beth Phoenix who, like, would dominate or, you know, do heelish tactics to dominate, or even like a Mickie James who's still currently wrestling, who wrestled with all of those greats and can't even get to her 7th to even think about tying Trish. Like, that's woefully unfair. So I have an issue with that in general, especially since the whole point of it was so that, or what it ended up being was so that Charlotte could come and say, I'm undefeated on pay-per-views, and then fight Asuka, who's never lost a match. And we see how that turned out. So I hate that Charlotte's the one who has to catch these stray bullets, because it's not her fault. Because, I mean, in all actuality, she is the best female wrestler, like the best overall, all around female wrestler and female character that is in WWE right now. So she deserves to be spoken about in a very prestigious way. But it's not fair to people like Sasha, who every legend or legacy star wants to wrestle her,
Yep.
And wants to have a match with her, but she can't win on pay-per-views. And like the fact that the Iconics pretty much said that as much when they came to Raw and when they came to SmackDown to basically be like, I mean, y'all can't win. So Sasha ain't never won, so what you talking about? Like,
yeah,
that sucks. And so I was talking about this with my best friend, and he was just like, Sasha doesn't wrestle with confidence anymore. She's not confident anymore. And I said, well, would you be confident if you lost every pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Only to win on Raw like the next night. So after you got your ass kicked, you miraculously figure out a way to win the next day.
Yeah, and you could see it all. You could always see it all over her face when she's walking to the ring when she's about to lose. Like she wears it. She wears it on her face, and she has every right to because. And
then, like, not to mention, like, you had some of the best, 3 women matches with Becky and Charlotte, the Iron Woman match, the 2 out of 3 falls. Like, you had some great matches in NXT, and now you're on the main roster, and basically you get used as a way to put somebody else over. And it doesn't help that, like, you probably beat yourself up for the fact that you are technically the reason why Paige is not wrestling anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
and why is she still like, yeah, I get that. And why won't they let her be a heel? Like, they need to let her go heel. This is the perfect time to do it because everybody's turned on her right now. If she came back on some F y'all, I know I'm the shit. I don't really care what you guys think. I'm going to beat everybody. If she came back super determined right now, she could go on a super crazy monster heel run right now because she's not tied to Bayley anymore. So she doesn't have to be like super happy anymore. Like if they let her do that, like that could be something really special. I mean, I think they should let her run with it. But yeah, she's probably got a lot of stuff on her mind, like, and I would like to know more about what happened with Alexa Bliss, like why she blocked her on Twitter and stuff recently, and like what happened backstage at Mania or whatever.
I think Alexa said something crazy to her and Beth because Beth kind of got hints at it a little bit too. And then I know that Alexa is mad at Becky because Becky basically will use Alexa as like the foot of the joke, but was just like, Ember, I'll knock you into next week and have put you out or put you on the sideline like Alexa. And Alexa didn't take too kindly of that. So she was like, I'm taking a social media break. And I'm just like, you can't have such like thin skin. People are gonna make a joke about the fact that you got a concussion because you got a goddamn concussion. Like
a lot of
you're
them
back in the ring, you're fine. Like, and I mean, you got a concussion because of Ronda, which I mean, who else hasn't got a concussion because of Ronda?
Yeah.
So, what are you upset about? And I mean, Becky was going at Ember Moon when this happened, so like it was a whole thing. But either way, I think that Sasha is dealing with a lot, and Vince doesn't want to lose her to like an AEW or a Stardom or something like that. But and he can't afford her to like go back to NXT either. Like, let's just be honest. Like, he can't have her go back to NXT or NXT UK. So he's going to do everything he possibly can to bring her back. I just don't understand why people dislike her so much. Like, y'all are out here talking about how it's okay for Lana to be mad about the fact that she ain't getting a push and Lana can't wrestle. Like, Lana can't do nothing. But like Sasha, who at one point was one of the best female wrestlers on the roster, and now she's not, and that has a lot to do with the fact that like her confidence is shot because she loses all the goddamn time, or she takes the pin all the time, and that's not fair. And so while I don't always agree with Sasha, and sometimes I feel like she can be a detriment in the ring because I can tell when she's like not going at full speed because she is trying to just basically protect herself. Like, I get that. And I have those issues with her, and she's not as like memorable as she used to be. There are several reasons as to why she's not. So
and also to add to that, like you got people who like Dean Ambrose. He complains about his push, like maybe not on social media, but he left WWE for a reason. We all know why, and it's because he wasn't able to do creatively what he wanted. He wasn't able to be the guy that he wanted to be. He was losing matches to people he didn't think he should be losing matches to. But there's nothing wrong with him going to AEW. Like, there's nothing wrong with him leaving. It's totally okay for him to complain about things. It's totally okay for Luke Harper to be upset, and it's totally okay for Dolph Ziggler to get online and complain about it, and
or Rusev,
or Rusev.
There's
Tyler
several
Breeze,
people who've complained lately. Ty Dillinger, like there are several people who have complained lately. But like Sasha and Neville, they were just like, nope, you can't complain. What? Like I don't understand. I just don't understand.
And Naomi too, and that goes back to like Black women having to be grateful just to be allowed to be in the position they are. Like they shouldn't want more. Just be happy you're here and they're letting you wrestle. And they shouldn't want to have the same opportunities that other people in the company are getting. Just be happy you're on TV. And that's bullshit that that they're like, it's bullshit that Sasha's gonna come back and get booed just because she's unhappy with the way her career is going.
I mean, it's bullshit that Bailey is getting booed because Sasha's not there right now.
Not there, and she's getting booed by proxy because she's friends with Sasha. And it's bullshit that Naomi is like, her trajectory has kind of gone down when she started speaking out, because God forbid a Black woman not be happy with the position that they're in their job or whatever. Like, and it's especially when it's two women who deserve to be in better positions, because you can't tell me that Alexa Bliss is a better wrestler. You can't tell me the Iconics are better wrestlers or than either one of those women. Like you can't tell me Becky's a better wrestler than Sasha is. Like you can't tell, like that's not the case. So it's really frustrating that these two, anytime a woman of color in this industry speaks up about where their career is, all of a sudden they're ungrateful and they don't have the right to speak up. But it's totally fine for every white dude and every white woman, even the ones who can't wrestle, to go online and complain about what's going on with them. Like it's really annoying.
Can I just say, and with everything else that you said, I've just been deeply sighing because the pressure of being a Black professional, of the access of having to work twice as hard to be half as good, and then still seeing people that are mediocre being celebrated for their mediocrity. And then you can't point that out because that mediocrity is to be celebrated. And I just worry about Mercedes, the person, and saying that I don't know what's going on with her. I just pray that this doesn't break her, because we all know that professional stress can break you. That is not, and I was just really having to bring him up again. Think about everything that Kofi had to go to be given a chance. Yeah. Like to break that glass ceiling, and he's a man. And, and this think about, and with plenty of competition. Whereas here you have Sasha, who is essentially doing the same thing, doesn't have the same time in WWE, doesn't have 11 years, I don't think, as Kofi does. But being in this position of elevating other people, being used for your shine and your charisma and everything else, but being kept in a box. And then, when Kofi was going to break out of the box, which really had to do with the fact that the fans, the vocal minority of us saying, hey, no, we love Kofi. I mean, so Kofi has been around so long, like sometimes my kids will, when they were younger, they would watch a little bit and then they did their own thing or whatever. But I was listening to a podcast when I was cooking, and one of my kids came in and was like, yo, Kofi's still wrestling? And immediately got his attention. He was all in like, tell me more about this. And when we were watching the story and we were hearing the racist undertones and all the obstacles that he had to go through to get something that he should have rightfully deserved because he earned it. And it was ridiculous. And so we were all bought in because I think all of us felt it in our lives in some way, like having to work so hard, but then having obstacles manufactured to keep you in a place. And as far as women goes, and I'm going to talk about Black women, nothing is as I don't know, like held in contempt than an uppity Black woman. Like, oh, you up and you talking too much. You think too much of yourself. We got to smack you down. And that has been what has been said about Sasha for a while. So this time, I don't really know all that's going on. I just hope she's taking self-care. Because the world is bigger than WWE. The world is bigger than these folk. They don't even know what to do with the women's division. Because did we bring her up when we said, well, who could be a foil for Becky? No. Why? Because they have not understood how to write story for women so that these belts and these reigns can have a story behind it, so that the reigns can go over like a few pay-per-view programs where there is a completion to it. We talked about, well, what's it going to take for the women's division to have a Kofi Mania? I think some real talent in the writing department where they're saying we're going to invest in these people and then do a story that makes sense.
Yeah,
there was a story with Kofi Mania. Even though it bothered us because of the undertones, there was still a story there. And I think that they have to apply that to the women, to look at them and say, and the story more so than, well, women are catty, so they're just not going to like each other and let them fight there. Or let's involve a man or something stupid. Hello, let's get a Bechdel test. Something that says this belt is prestigious. I mean, that's why we rock for Charlotte a little bit, because she does deserve the prestige. But what did she do? She comes out and says, I'm your queen.
Yeah.
And I'm genetically gifted, which, that makes me itch a little bit. But, know, it says, I am the bar with which everyone must be measured. And so everything else is is petty and underneath me, because if you want to be relevant, you're going to have to come through me.
Yep.
And so I think that they need to spend some time with that. And with Sasha, whatever she does, well, I should say Mercedes, whatever she does, I'm going to believe it was the right decision for her, because we don't know what all goes on.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, this is my last point. I'm thinking about, my life and personally, when I was getting my PhD and I got into the graduate program, I was told, oh, you don't want to be all but dissertation. Like, oh, that's like the worst thing. And all but dissertation is when you complete all the courses and like the comps and do everything else except for write your dissertation. And they made it seem like that if you got to that point and did all that work, but didn't actually write your dissertation, that you're a failure. And those people that got to that point are quitters and should be looked down upon. But then I got to that point and it was stressful, and it was, it's expensive. And I understood why some people could look at their life and say, you know what? It ain't worth it.
Exactly.
And, and it doesn't mean any less of them. It is a designation, but, I understood it now, and I respect people, I completed, but it was like, I get why people could drop out, and because they had to take a look of their own life and say, I got to do what's best for me. And so I'm hoping that this time off, where we don't see Mercedes is doing what's best for Mercedes.
I mean, from what I have seen on like Instagram, she's kicking it with Kalisto. I know her and Kalisto are super close. Like Kalisto, his wife, who's a luchadora, like they've all been in Dasha, which they fired Dasha and they didn't really give a reason why they fired her, but Dasha is out there with them. I think that they're all just kind of enjoying their time away from WWE right now. So I agree.
About Dasha, is she the one that was also working for ESPN or something? Like,
I don't know.
Because there was one person that had two jobs, and they were like, WWE promoted it because it was, how they like legitimacy from other brands. Right. So let me look that up.
But if I remember correctly, Dasha, I think her last name is Fuentes. I believe they fired her and didn't really give a reason why. They just kind of like got rid of her. And no one's really talked about it. But then I saw a picture of her with Sasha, and I was like, well, that's interesting. So there's no telling. But
can I digress for 1 second? I have a question. Did we know the Riot Squad got broken up?
Yeah, well, I did.
No.
I follow Ruby Riot on Instagram, and she wrote a really long post about how they're not going to be together. And then Liv was underneath that post. So then I went to Liv's page and Liv wrote a really long post about it too. And Sarah, I don't think I saw anything on her page, but if I did, I just don't remember. I'm confused as to if Liv and Sarah went to SmackDown or if just Liv went to SmackDown, because the way that Ruby, the way that Ruby wrote her post was Liv and Sarah went. But if you go to like WWE.com and check the roster that to show you who went where for the Superstar Shakeup, Sarah's not on there. So I don't know if that means that Liv just went by herself and then Sarah is going to be like rebranded, recasted, and Ruby's going to be her own thing. It sucks. Like you can tell that the three of them like love each other and have built this really strong bond. Like I know they have matching tattoos and everything, but like Liv and Ruby were in Sarah's wedding to Hanson and everything, and like you can tell that this them being apart is gonna be rough for all three of them. And that totally sucks. Like my heart went out when I read Ruby's post and I read Liv's post. I was like genuinely sad and kind of heartbroken, because you can tell that yes, they're happy for each other and like they're hoping that this means that they'll get back together in the future and that their careers are going to grow. But like you can also tell that they're just like, what the hell am I supposed to do without you?
Yeah, it's going to be sad for Liv, because I feel like Liv's going to get completely lost on the SmackDown roster. I'm looking at the rosters online, so it's apparently Ruby and Sarah are going to stay on Raw, and then Liv went over to SmackDown by herself. She's going to get completely lost by herself over there. Like, well, she's not.
At least she's like not the carbon copy of Carmella anymore, because that was kind of my big issue. That was my issue with her in NXT. I was just like, so you're Carmella.
Speaking of Carmella, what is this bullshit about her not coming out to the ring anymore with her own music? Like, she had a match on SmackDown this week, and she came out to R-Truth's music. Like, I get that they have a thing going on now, but she's her own person, and she's won a championship by like she's carried a belt herself. I think that's insane that she has to come out to a man's music. And I also like, and it also goes back to like everything that she's ever done in the WWE has been tied to a bunch of men. Yeah, which drives me crazy. But I'm just like, it stuck out to me that she came out to R-Truth's music, and I'm like, because I'm like, oh, he has a match, and then I was like, wait a second, she's the one that's about to wrestle. Yeah, why is she coming? Maybe they're gonna redo her song or something, because it is pretty dated. So maybe that's what it is. Hopefully that's what it is. But if not, that's just a bad look for having to come out to his music.
So since we only have like a few more minutes before JJ has to depart with us, I guess final thoughts, final ideas. I want to say that I would say my favorite thing about the entire like WrestleMania weekend and the Revolution as a whole is the fact that Chyna is officially in the Hall of Fame.
Whoop, whoop. Kind of cast all day.
Right. We did that. It was us. All over here at the Forever Young cast. It was us. Because we were all like down for the Chyna cast as a hashtag. Yeah. So the three of us include, and I guess we're going to include Don. So we're taking full credit for this. It was us always. So I'm really happy about that. If you haven't had a chance to go back and watch the 4-way at NXT, that match was really good. And the WWE PC, so the Performance Center now has a YouTube page. And that's how I got to kind of see like some of the Ciampa surgery stuff. But they have the video of Binky losing and like her just in the back in tears. And girl, I don't know why she had to she had to be the one to get choked out again. That's really not fair, especially since like 2 weeks later you had Kyrie lose or whatever you want to call that they did. So Binky is too much of a bright star to be like Shayna's punching bag. And I understand that you want to protect EO because she's new and she's fresh, and eventually you're going to put the full like force behind her. But if Kyrie was getting the call up, which I'm pretty sure they knew at that time, then Kyrie could have taken the pin and it would have just been fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Black Girl Magic. But that's kind of the same thing. Like they all dog Binky, and I'm like, but Binky's the best one. Like, don't understand. Black girls get no love in the WWE, and that's woefully not. That's so not fair to us. So what are you guys' favorite moments from the weekend? Just how do you feel about WWE? I think that we're all kind of in the same spot of it feels like they're not helping the women. They're kind of hurting the women and like not developing storylines, not developing titles. And like V said, Carmella coming out to R-Truth music makes no sense when it's her match. So where are you guys just at with that? And then what was your favorite thing from WrestleMania weekend? And then we will do some shout outs and we'll be done with this episode. V, you can go first.
So right now, I feel like the women's divisions on both sides are kind of in just kind of a holding pattern because they don't have any real storylines going on right now that would sustain over a long period of time right now. Especially on the Raw women's side, like, Naomi is really the premier name right now, which is actually pretty cool. But, Nia's hurt now, so that's going to take Tamina off of TV, or are they going to team Tamina with Naomi up or whatever? Like, I just, I don't see, there's not like Sasha and Naomi pretty much, they could run that division and that could be exciting if they could figure out a way to do something with them. I just don't know if WWE has the right writers to figure out how to do something with them. Like I said, if they could figure out a way to turn Sasha to a monster heel who doesn't care about anybody and doesn't give a damn anymore, and is just gonna go out there and like decimate people, that could be really, really like she could take that boss stuff to a whole other level. If they can figure out how to do that, she would be something special. So I'm hoping that we see that happen. Because otherwise the Raw side, there's not much to look forward to right now. And then on the SmackDown side, there's a whole lot of great women, but like I said, people like Liv Morgan, I feel like are going to get lost. I just don't know where they're going to go, especially with this Becky having 2 belts thing. How long is that going to last for? Because there's only so many belts for these girls to fight for. So, and if you're going to continue to have storylines like Naomi and Mandy Rose fighting over Jimmy Uso, when we know good and damn well Jimmy Uso ain't ever going to leave Naomi for no Mandy Rose. It was kind of stupid.
Amen.
It's like, let's be real.
Even in the storyline, he was like, I love my wife. What the fuck are you talking about?
If they want to be like that whole storyline drove me crazy because they want people to watch Total Divas. And so for those of us who have, we know how much that man loves Naomi. Like, it's been a major storyline on every season they've ever been on, is how much he rides for his girl. So for us to believe that he would leave Naomi in that ass for Mandy Rose is like, come on. So hopefully we don't have any more stupid storylines like that in the future. And they can figure out how to write women with more than hating you because I'm sexy and I'm going to take your man, or because I'm just catty or whatever. Like, there needs to be some depth there. So I'm hoping that's what they kind of focus on, is creating some real, true storylines. Like, I wouldn't even mind seeing Naomi fight Magatha Christie, aka Lacey Evans. Like, let's do like this. If you want to go there, if you want to, like, let's be real with it. Like, she's, the MAGA woman. So let's have her go against Naomi and Sasha.
I mean, they just had her pin Natty, and I'm supposed to believe that. And I can't.
I can't. Nobody can believe that shit. Like, it's just stupid. So, let's just figure it out. My favorite thing over the weekend, or for WrestleMania weekend, I know it's supposed to be, I think you guys want me to pick something that had to do with the women, but
no,
you can do whatever you want. We've gone on tangents at this point. Do what you feel.
Yeah, because there wasn't anything like revolutionary with the women over the weekend. So it was Kofi. It was Kofi Mania. It was amazing. His son is a star. Mm-hmm. His son is going to be in that position 20 years from now.
Can't wait.
And can't wait to see that. It's super exciting, and he was super cute. And just to see how excited Xavier Woods and Big E were for their guy. Like, that's a real true brotherhood, and they better not ever break up the New Day. Like, that's one faction that can never break up. Like, they have to be together forever. So that was really cool. That was really cool to see. So that's all I got.
All right, JJ, final thoughts on this women's evolution that we've been on, and your favorite moment of the weekend.
I will say that I'm concerned about the investment of women in WWE. I think what will be telling is what happens if they do another Mae Young Classic and who they get to be involved and the effort they put into it. I'm concerned that we spoke a lot about how this monumental women are main eventing WWE went out like a whimper, and that they would use this as an excuse to regress. Those moment of bliss segments were bad. Trish Stratus, Mr. McMahon in the Office, foolishness from the Attitude Era, but not done quite as well. And I would say that, so I'm concerned with who is in the room, what their biases are, and what they are thinking of, and what they are giving the women to do, because they are all very talented. Even the ones where I don't really see it for, I acknowledge the amount of talent they have to be in a building. And so I'm a little concerned. I'm not as hopeful as I was in the beginning of 2019, when in 2018 we had the first Women's Rumble, and we ended it with like the Women's Evolution pay-per-view. I mean, they're going back to Saudi Arabia, and will there be women on the show? I mean, and do people care? No.
The rumor is that there are supposed to be women on the show.
Okay.
And that's why we're not getting another Women's Evolution pay-per-view this year.
And I think that's part of the problem. That's a problem. So in other words, you're saying you only got it because you went shut up about this Saudi Arabia thing, which I think most people don't want to acknowledge.
Honestly, so I watch a lot of What Culture Wrestling on YouTube because I can just turn it on and leave it on. And they talked about this. Part of it is that the Evolution didn't sell very well, period. Like, the show itself didn't sell good, and tickets didn't uptick until they announced the main event, which was Nikki versus Ronda. And so that was their thought of, well, since Ronda's not going to be here this year, we're not going to sell tickets. And
that's such a cop out.
Right. So my whole thing with the WWE is, no, the reason why you didn't sell tickets is because the matches you were trying to sell us were trash.
And they didn't promote and they didn't promote them. Like, we found out the matches a week and a half before Evolution. Like, there were no story because they hadn't done anything to actually build the women's division.
Right.
There were no storylines going into Evolution,
which we have been echoing, and the location. And I think that after this year, we can understand that New York area, a little bit difficult. So, I mean, it ain't like they were doing a ladies' night in Vegas, which would have done better. I understand. I understand that line of thinking, but I say to that, no, man.
They half-assed that promotion. It was it was just, they put more effort into the Saudi Arabia thing. Like, we had storylines for half a year going into that nobody cared about, and nobody wanted to see that pay-per-view. But when it came to the women's one, it was put together so hastily, and they didn't have any thought about storylines or whatnot. And even though Nikki Bella and there was no storyline, that storyline literally started maybe 2 or 3 weeks before Evolution. So we saw it coming. And we all knew it was coming. Yeah. So it really wasn't, and it wasn't, and it's that whole storyline was all around Nikki Bella being John Cena's ex-girlfriend and things like that, and Ronda being the baddest woman. It was just such a half-assed story, and one that we've seen before, and why do we need to keep seeing it? And it's you know what? That and the match that should have been promoted was Becky and Charlotte. That was the match of the night. But they didn't do anything to promote any of the other women on that show, with the exception of Ronda. She was the only one that they talked about.
And then Trish and Lita coming back to fight.
Yeah.
Mickey and Alexa.
Yeah, and it's like it was Rhonda and Nikki Bella were the only things that were talked about for that show, and everything else was half-assed. Like, we just did not get the work. They didn't put the work in. It was basically like, here, damn, y'all been complaining so much. Here's your damn pay-per-view. That's basically what it was. Like,
yeah, but but let's think about the investment in that. And I think that this is also the reason why I'm concerned about who's in the room and their biases, because Nikki Bella was the bankable star, not because of what she did in the ring, but because of her, what she was involved with or associated with outside of the ring. Total Divas, Total Bellas, John Cena. And then you have Ronda Rousey, who was come from UFC. So these are not people that are, your product in a way where you're investing in it to create that star that could be the next whatever. I think that they tried to do it a little bit with Becky after she got herself over, but it was then we all kind of felt that it was a little manufactured and it was a little bit of a problem. So I think that they need to really, if they're going to fully invest in the women, that they need to recalibrate who's in the room and what they are looking to produce. And, in terms of product, in terms of star power, and in terms of the fans' demand, because I thought I was supposed to be the boss. I'm not, so I think that that's where we are right now, where I am not hopeful. And I need some reassurance, and I don't have it. In terms of what I did like this weekend, two things. First of all, I don't think that you can top not just so much, like Kofi Mania and that Black Boy joy that was up in the ring, but just Black people joy that started from Wale Mania to, with Booker really putting them on. Putting, insane, like, man, look, I'm so proud. Like, everywhere he went, just talking about this moment, just talking about Kofi and everyone involved, to the Kofi project that was done by Andreas Hale, who, they asked for live reaction videos, or he asked for live reaction videos of when people won, and you saw everybody like crying and just really, really feeling it. That is a moment that, can't be topped. So I can't say it's my favorite moment, because that's just undescribable for me. I mean, how do you put in words something that's undescribable? What I say what really stuck with me was when Bianca Belair picked up, I think it was both Sky Pirates, and power lifted them. And then tilted them over. And the reason why that really stuck with me is because little girl number 2, I have 3 girls. She's 10 years old. That girl thinks she's a power lifter. She tries to pick up her big brothers. She tries to pick up me. She just, she's just lifting. And for her to see a woman be fierce and look it and be powerful in that moment, put a smile on her face and to put a smile on my face, because they can point to being strong, being graceful, being beautiful, and also taking defeat and doing it well.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's my final word.
Oh, I like those are all good moments. In a couple of tangents. I'm with it.
Yeah.
So from all of us, so me, JJ, and V, I want to say thank you to Dawn for even offering us up this opportunity to kind of record this. We really appreciate you. Thank you, V and JJ. I realize I talk to y'all every day, like just about like, even if it's just to like, are y'all alive? I talk to y'all every day, so y'all are both like blessings, and I thank you guys. It's nice to kind of grow out my Wrestle family, so I appreciate it. But for me, just shout out to Anwar and everyone who is always shouting us out on like the Passion Strong style. So Love that kid. Thank you so much.
So glad you were there this weekend.
And then, just everybody at the CSPN. It's been fun hosting because, Dawn's usually in this role. So, shout out to Dawn for making me the host for the day. And then you guys can give your shout outs as well. JJ, you can go first, and then V, you can go second. We'll call it a day.
Yeah. So, everyone that you said, so I do thank you all for allowing me to send you all of the cat memes on Instagram.
That is real.
That is so real. All of the cat memes. And also like Dawn for always, if I have a weird idea, he's like, well, workshop it a little bit and do it. And of course, Ann Warstanwin, who I love and admire. And also the kids for keeping quiet, and even my cat Quiet for keeping quiet almost
thanks,
Huh?
I said, thanks, guys.
Yeah, because I can hear them like at the door, like really. And yeah, that's it. If you guys have any comments or questions, we're always down to talk about wrestling and nerd podcasts.
Yes, most definitely. V, what are your shout outs and thank yous?
Just thank you guys for having me with you guys again. My schedule is super crazy and you guys worked around it so I could be here with you guys. So thank you for that. And just thank you to everybody who listens and everybody who comments on our discussions that we, that we go off on different tangents and all kinds of crazy things. But this is basically how our text conversations are. We go off on many different tangents. So
look,
yeah. So it's just a little piece of our everyday life here going on right now. But shout out to everybody. Shout out to my intern. I hope he gets his life together.
Wow.
Praying for him every day, actually.
Pray for him. Y'all need to pray for this kid. Pray for my sanity. Pray that I make it through this year. So that is it. That is it for me.
All right. Well, I guess this is our sign off. Once again, thank you to Dawn for having us record this. And this has been your special episode of the Forever Young cast. And hopefully if they bring back the Mae Young Classic, we'll be back again this summer.
Yeah.
Yay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Don't treat me like a woman. Don't treat me like a man. Don't treat me like you know me. Treat me for just who and what I am.